Coming off the back of a victory, a pretty significant victory that saw the sacking of Erik ten Hag, West Ham United hit the trip up to the City ground to face a very informed Nottingham Forest, coming off the back of a Friday night football win over Leicester, and currently sitting 7th, rather rosily in the Premier League. And here to analyse and dissect and share some insight into the start of the season for Nottingham Forest is Richard. He is, of course, as you can see, a Nottingham Forest fan. How are you, mate?
I'm doing well, thanks. Yourself?
Good stuff. I'm not too bad. I've got my house to myself, as you mentioned to me earlier, before we went on air. So I'm enjoying some time alone. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So Nottingham Forest. Well, I knew I was going to Forest away for quite a while, and been looking at it as a game. As we keep losing games, I've been looking at it as a game that we should be targeting to come up and give you a good go. But I mean, tell me, the start of the season, what's happened?
I think Nuno's just had a pre-season, and we've had a very good summer in the transfer market. I think it's been less scattergun, a bit more focused on what we needed. Not many players going.
Oh, and that's a great start. We have lost Rich there, just as I was replying to somebody. That's a great start. Good evening to everybody that's joining us in the chat whilst they wait. Wow, I haven't done this layout for a while. Hope you're well, Michael. Fathead, hope you are well as well. Mr. Terry Noosh, hope you are well. Party at Jake's tonight? No. I have got a Halloween party tomorrow night, and there's some of you would have seen my costume the other day, but I'll show you a little bit later if you like. You are now entirely on your own. Well, I'm not anymore. He's back. Rich, thanks for rejoining me. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but you were mid-sentence,
I think the
so I'm going to let you.
There.
I think it dropped out. I'm gonna let you carry on if you can remember where you got to.
Yeah, I think it's just a very good transfer window in the summer. You know, decent signings. It's given us some depth now. Even with 2 or 3 midfielders out, we've still got a bit of strength there. And we're looking very settled and looking very organised, tough to beat, which is always I think the main thing initially. And I think this year we won't be flirting with relegation. I think we need to target midfield. I think we're slightly higher than we probably should be, if I'm honest. But you've got to make hay while the sun shines, haven't you?
Absolutely. And I've just been looking at your results so far this season. So far this season, having a look at the results. And obviously, you know, we're still early on, but the first thing that I've noticed is that you don't concede many goals. You've conceded only 2 in one game, and everything else you've conceded either no goals or just 1 goal. Does that sort of tell the story in terms of defensively you've been pretty astute?
Yeah, I think that's where the strength of the team is at the minute. We're not prolific scorers. I know we got 3 against Leicester, but they were pretty slack defensively, and I think you always need to build on the back, and that's what Nuno's done. We've brought a good central defender in Milenkovic, and he's forming a good partnership with Murillo, and they're looking quite hard to beat at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's good. Really, really solid starting from the back. I mean, you haven't scored many goals, but you haven't conceded many goals. The highlight game came in the middle of September so far, from what I can see, beating Liverpool at home. I mean, not many teams do that very often. Was that the start? Was it sort of that game where you thought, oh, hello, something a little bit different going on here, like that? That game, obviously, very, very good win away from home at Liverpool. Was that the sort of moment where you thought, oh, this is a bit different there?
Oh. Well, if I'm honest, I felt that things were different as soon as Nuno came in and Steve Cooper left.
Right.
The football was better. We looked more of a team, more organised, more on the front foot, more able to give teams a game rather than just be waiting for things to happen, really. And like I say, he's had the pre-season to build on that. Some good signings, and it's looking as good as it could be at the moment, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting because I just heard, obviously, so Steve Cooper left in December of last year, and you've brought Nuno in. So from what I can gather, it was the right time for Steve Cooper to move on when he did, and Nuno took a bit of time to get things to get things together. But now it seems like he's excelling at the City Ground. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. I was reading something today, and he'd said, when you come in partway through the season, you're sort of inheriting somebody else's sort of way of playing, and you need a good pre-season to get your ideas across. And I think that's what he's done.
Yeah,
so far anyway.
Good. Really, really good to see in that sense, and really, I mean, you mentioned up there about Steve Cooper waiting for things to happen, and that sounds all too familiar for West Ham under David Moyes. Now, we changed our manager in the summer, and I think we might be in that period that you were in at the back end of last season, where Julian Lopetegui hasn't really got anything firing yet, and maybe only time will tell whether we go through the similar sort of process and transition to you boys. Let's take a look at some comments. JC hasn't paid the Lecky bill. I don't know what that means. Is that the electricity? Use proper language, Terry. Come on. Michael says he has his bodyguard babysitter to make sure he's a good boy while mum and dad are away. There's no babysitter, there's no bodyguard, right? I am here on my own and have been for days, right? And I'm okay. I'm still here, right? And I'll do a preview with the lads on Friday talking about this game, and I'll still be here then. It's all going to be okay. What's the costume? I'll show you my costume for tomorrow night in just a second. I won't put it on, don't worry. I've got a picture of it. I'll show you guys later. Michael says Chris Wood worries me. He has hit a golden streak. Chris Wood, scored a couple against Leicester the other night. I don't know why. He's one of those players that always just seems to score against us. Is he pivotal to everything going forward for Forest?
He just looks at the moment like he's going to score every game. I think 95% of Forest fans, when he came in, were thinking, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
Buying Chris Wood for 17 million. But he kept us up last season, and this season he's just looking like he can't miss. Yeah,
that's good. That's interesting because 17 million Chris Wood, he's a player that's guaranteed to score some goals. You don't know how many. He might not have too much of an impact elsewhere, but he's a player that's gonna score you some goals. No guarantee, but knows where the back of the net is. That is for sure. Even in Super Mario, Sharky was obviously watching the other night, so I was aware of my Halloween costume. And Princess Peach, otherwise known as Terry. See, Terry, you come on here and you get treated like a like the royalty that you are. And of course, I'll see you on Saturday as we make our way up to Nottingham, beautiful Nottingham, Terry. And I won't bring my Mario costume Saturday, Terry, I know that was simmering in the back of your mind. Peter, hope you well. Jake is wearing his Greg's uniform to the party, which looks like a Mario costume. It has got a red apron and it's got a blue shirt, so I see what you mean in that sense. But no, I will not be wearing my Greg's outfit to be Mario. I need to get 3 points in the hood. Hey, see what you did there. It's the first really bad joke of the night. There'll be more of them to come, Rich, don't worry. Forest, to my surprise of the season so far, thought they would be relegation fodder. What was the sort of goal coming into the season for Forest fans? Was it survival again, or was it right, let's push on now?
No, I think you've fought relegation for 2 seasons. I think you really need to be thinking a bit higher than that. I mean, I think if we can finish sort of bottom of the mid-table, but clear of relegation with games to spare, I think then that will be a good season.
Yeah.
But you never know with football, do you? If it all comes together, the manager, the team, the board, you just don't know what can happen. And there's a lot of fans going on TalkSport going, oh yeah, we're going to win the league and we're going to get into Europe, which I think is slightly optimistic. But like I say, you just got to. Football's about moments, isn't it? And you've got to enjoy it while it's going well, because around the corner there's going to be a few moments which aren't quite so good.
Absolutely.
But I think on the whole we'd be looking to to be further away.
Yeah.
Further away from the end of the season before we have to think about relegation or anything like that.
Absolutely, I think that's a fair standpoint to have. Yeah, fighting relegation for 2 years and then wanting to push on should be the natural sort of progression. And this season will probably tell you where you are as a football club. If you find yourselves up 12, towards 12th or 13th, then you can tick the box and go, that's a really good season. Not with any threat or too much threat of relegation. Sort of after January or February time, not having that concern will help the fans a lot to trust us from experience, and will also help would also help the players as well to sort of relax a little bit, because I mean that period where you've constantly think got to pick up points, and it's a struggle from January onwards. When you're in a relegation battle, there's times when you think you're definitely going down, and then there's times when you think actually we are going to stay up, and to not have that, I'm sure would be nice for Forest, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, it's looking good. I mean, we've put a fair bit of distance between us and the bottom three already, but we just look like a team that's going to pick up more points this season.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That really is interesting. Whenever we talk, we always seem to talk about signings, because obviously when you came up into the Premier League, there was the big, was it 20 players that were signed, and I saw something the other day
30,
actually.
I think.
Nearer 30. I saw something a journalist did the other day for your game against Crystal Palace, where it said all 20 or 30 signings for Forest. There was one on the pitch, and it was Henderson playing for Crystal Palace or something, and I was like,
"Wow, their goalkeeper,
it was their goalkeeper. That was the only one out of the 30 signings that was on the pitch, and he wasn't playing for us." I found that quite ironic. Is that sort of looked back upon as the right thing to do? And do you feel more settled now? Obviously, not bringing in 30 players a summer is a sustainable start.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you throw a lot of mud, hopefully some of it will stick. The signings like Gibbs White and Nico Williams initially were good signings, and then looked like that's where we were going, picking people to play in certain positions, and then it just got a bit supermarket sweep, really. And it's quite telling that most of them aren't there now. But I think we've been a little bit more structured the last couple of windows, and it's looking like we're getting to a point where we might only need to improve by 2 or 3 players in a window rather than buying a dozen.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's reaching a more sort of sustainable level. Let's have a look at some comments. Michael says, if it's even, can send Ings on to fall over for a last minute in the penalty area. Well, it worked last week, didn't it? But no, in all seriousness, we can all agree that the shambles that was, but it was against Man United, so in the end it was quite funny, and I think most other fans would have found it mildly amusing, despite disagreeing with the decision, as we probably all can do. Peter says, hopefully we can see the wood for the trees. Yep, there's another really bad joke in there. They keep on coming. Peter says, go 3-4-3 with Somerville, Ings and Bowen up top 100%. Talk about that more on Friday when we look more more in depth at the West Ham side of things. We will touch on West Ham in a second. This is brilliant. Ings, he's old, he's small, his hair's from Istanbul. Danny Ings, top class. Lecky is proper English. Okay, I'll take your word for it, Sharky. Amelia's not here. She's not my girlfriend. That is not the case whatsoever, Peter. Remove and dislodge that from your mind. Peter says, if his heart was made of wood, he wouldn't be as good. What? I'm not following. No. Yeah, bad. Tell me about it, Sharky. Andy, hope you're well. Hope all is well as with you, Sharky. How many goals would Chris Wood score this season with another striker next to him? Yeah, so does he play as the one target man up front mostly? Yeah.
Yeah, they tried it against Fulham with 2 up front, and we were just really poor.
Right.
We didn't create anything really. It's got to be Wood or Awoniyi, really. I think with either Gibbs White and you got Alanga and Hudson-Odoi either side, just running around, giving him a bit of pace either side. It's got to be just the one. I don't know. You might correct me, but I'm not sure there's many teams that use 2 up front now. Is there on a regular basis? No, it's a bit old school now. I think. Well, they're even talking. I don't know if you watched the Leicester match.
I did. Yeah.
They were talking about Chris Wood sort of revitalised the big front man role, which has sort of been dying a death the last few seasons, hasn't it?
It's interesting because that's
Yeah,
sort
it's just
of
got to be.
yeah. That sort of 4-4-2 has died out, hasn't it? And like having a target man and then a goal scorer, that's died out. And
Yeah,
as you're right, the likes of Chris Wood, I suppose you could say you could put Isak in that category really for Newcastle.
yeah.
He's a sort of target man up front, and they're starting to come back into the game. Mikel Antonio's a different sort of target man, of course, returning to his former club of Nottingham Forest on Saturday. He's sort of a target man, but then sort of not. He's just different, Antonio, but that's just him.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, he's
interesting.
just all muscle, isn't he? He just barrels people out of the way. And
Yeah.
I think people like Isak and Haaland, they're a bit more mobile. Chris Wood's not particularly mobile.
Right, yeah.
So he can look a bit isolated sometimes, but it does depend on the players around him a lot as well to make it work.
Absolutely. Let's take some more comments. Peter says, what does the Forest man think of his chairman talking about... Sorry. Blimey. I've honestly, now I've got no one to bring me up a drink from downstairs. There's no one here. What do you think about Forest increasing the capacity to 50,000? Has that been talked about, mate?
It has. I think it's probably more realistic to be 40,000. But if you read about Marinakis, he's quite. He has big plans. Let's say when we got promoted, he was talking about winning trophies. We'd not even set foot in the Premier League at that point. But the ticket sales, we could get 45,000 week in, week out there, as long as we stay in the Premier League.
Yeah. I will say one thing is that it's a very good in terms of atmosphere ground. I've only been once. I didn't go last year. I went the season you came up, the first game that you were back in the Premier League, and that's the best atmosphere I've experienced in the Premier League, hands down. Obviously, it was a very special occasion, so I was expecting a good atmosphere, but it eclipsed my expectations just from all corners of the ground. It's like what we wanted the London Stadium to turn into. It's like Upton Park. Everyone was turning around going, wow, this is like what Upton Park was back in the day. And just a brilliant atmosphere. You risk, if you're going to increase it up, up 10 or 15,000 by then losing an element of that. But if you think you can get the fans there and you can maintain that atmosphere, then I think most would be all for it, would they?
Yeah, I think there was talk about us moving, but I think that was the chairman playing games with the council. I think the idea is that they want to stay there because it has got that close proximity to the pitch.
Yeah.
And we just go up rather than away from the pitch. So we could keep that atmosphere going.
Yeah, absolutely. Far away from the pitch. I don't know what you're on about, Rich. We've got to walk about 15 miles to get to the pitch from our ground, from our stands.
Yeah.
But,
It didn't do so well in the. I think there was a guy on TalkSport rated all the grounds, didn't he?
No, yeah, put ours bottom. I'd put ours bottom, so I didn't take it.
Yeah, I've never been. I used to go to the Boleyn, but I've never been to that one. I've not been to that one yet.
I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't go out your way. It's not a football ground. Fathead says, "Who is the girlfriend?" And honestly, is this a personal interview or is this a opposition preview for the Forest game on Saturday? You seriously expect an answer to that question, Fathead? Come on. Is it Littler's ex-girlfriend? No, I'm not with Littler's ex-girlfriend. But I know what your insinuation is there, Peter. I gathered that. Wood showing what a bit of confidence can do for a striker. You know what? I read the first bit of that and thought a joke was coming, but no, a serious comment. Peter, Terry, thank you very much indeed for that. Hudson Odoi, another player. I mean, Elanga is player. I've just looked at your lineup from the Leicester game, just sort of refreshing my memory. Elanga is one that sticks out. Used to play at Man United. Is he somebody that's excelled?
I don't know if he's excelled,
right? Okay,
but he's sort of in and out. It forms in and out with Elanga. He definitely needs the space to run into. But yeah, 20 million for the pair. I mean, it's got to be bargain of the century, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a couple of really, really astute signings there. Keeper has done well too. Peter and Peter's going through your whole lineup here. Keeper's doing well too. So overall, would you agree that you've built a pretty solid starting 11?
I think so. Yeah, and we've now got options off the bench as well.
Right.
which is a big thing. We never, under Steve Cooper, we never really, if we went behind, you couldn't see how we were going to get back into it. Whereas I'm always confident that we've got a goal in us now.
Right. And then one player that I did want to discuss is the player that you took from us this summer, and that is James Ward-Prowse. Now, I've only seen one thing, and that was him getting sent off. How's he gone down so far?
I think he's. I don't know what you thought of him. He's got undoubted sort of dead ball skills and stuff like that. I don't think he's great defensively. Looking at what I've seen of him, I think we look a bit light when he's in the middle of the park. But he's a good player to bring on. That's how I look at it. I always feel lone players shouldn't be first choice unless they're
fall in love with lone players.
No, unless they're exceptional. I think you should be looking to build your own players into the team beforehand. But I don't know, what did you think of him when he was at West Ham?
Yeah, he was a sort of a nearly player, we thought. And, I think we could probably do with him at the moment because we've got some pretty significant midfield problems, which we'll come on to West Ham in a little bit in a second. We've had some pretty significant midfield problems. We've been really immobile in midfield. And, you mentioned the dead ball, sort of instances, and from corners he put in some really good corners, and he actually scored from a direct from a corner at Wolves away last year. That was a highlight, but he didn't score a free kick for us last year, which is the most West Ham thing ever. We got the best free kick taker in the world, since Beckham or the rest of it. And he didn't score a direct free kick for West Ham. A little bit slow, a little bit lightweight. We could probably do with him now. Look, we knew what we were going to get with him. He wasn't out of this world. He wasn't awful. He was just that sort of okay, steady player in midfield. And I was interested to see whether he'd have walked into that Forest midfield. I didn't know what your midfield was like, how desperate needs you were of a midfield. Obviously, the red card couldn't have done him too many favours.
I was surprised that we went for him in the end because I thought our midfield was pretty settled with Sangare, Danilo, Dominguez, Yates. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Yates, but I'm coming round slowly to see what he does for the team. And Anderson as well from Newcastle is another good buy. I thought we were pretty settled in midfield, but as it is, Sangare and Danilo are injured. So I'm sure he'll be back on the bench, Ward-Prowse.
Yeah.
I don't think you can afford to leave him off. If you're chasing a game, he's the sort of player that can, if you win a free kick, like you say, or a corner, can make something happen.
Yeah, well, of course, obviously he won't be available because he's alone, isn't he? So he won't be able
to play against you guys
for Saturday. Yates is a player you mentioned there. Whenever somebody says Ryan Yates, I don't watch a great deal of Forest, but it's always seemed like it's associated with proper tackle, gets a bit fiery sort of player. Am I right there?
He doesn't get fiery so much. He's very good at winning a foul,
right,
and buying you some time. He's not particularly technically gifted, but he'll put everything on the line. He put in tackles, and he got on the score sheet Friday.
Decent finish.
I think he's improving. I think having good players around him is making him better. He's never going to be, a Rodri or anybody like that, but he does a job. He's a good squad player.
Absolutely. There we go. That is interesting. Right, let's have a look here. Sharky says Gibbs White is turning into a cracking player. When is the personal interview? Well, no, there isn't a personal interview. I mean, you might get some more personal stuff out of me in our Christmas show, so you can wait till the Christmas show where we talk about anything but football, but this isn't a personal interview. Terry reckons he's got inside info on my special friend. Terry, you don't. You go. That person I think you're on about is my friend. There may or may not be somebody else, but if I give too much away, then I'm going to get myself into trouble, aren't I? Please send James Ward-Prowse back. That pretty much sums up our midfield problems at the moment. So let's go on to that. So from the outside looking in, off you made a West Ham start, mate.
If I'm honest, when there was talk of Cooper going, I wanted Lopetegui at Forest because I'd seen I'd gone up and watched Wolves against Forest when he was there, and they played really good football on the front foot. I don't know if that's what you're getting where you are, but I don't know. I haven't seen a great deal of West Ham, if I'm honest. I know you've sort of been struggling a little bit. I'm quite confident, Saturday, if I'm honest.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
But you never know, do you, with football? It's one of those things. We're not particularly good at home this season, which was there's a bit of a flip from the season before.
Yeah.
Our home form has always been the sort of mainstay of our points, but we're doing it the other way around this season, which is a bit strange.
That's interesting because was it last season where you beat Arsenal at home to like sort of consolidate, to get safety, and then obviously that ended Arsenal's total hopes, and it seemed like everybody in the run up they're talking about when's Forest playing at home, like Forest's home form will keep them up, and in the end it did. West Ham have been funny this season, really funny. You'll see it on Saturday. Everything I'm going to tell you now, you'll probably see is that the midfield, if you pack the midfield and run through it, you'll probably win. Manchester United didn't really do that, to be honest. We were very lucky to beat them. That'll give us an element of confidence, that game, but not a lot. We should have been 3 or 4-0 probably down at half time against them.
Right.
That Dalot missed an open goal. Garnacho missed countless chances. They were really sloppy in front of goal, and if they'd have pounced, then they'd have, it was a case of if they'd have got 1, they'd have probably got 3 or 4 in the first 45, and it opened the door of opportunity, and we walked through it. He made 3 changes at half time against Man United, which summed up how the first half went. He did that at half time. He's not afraid to make subs. He's made double changes and triple changes early. He even took a midfielder off about half an hour into one of the games so far this season, non-injury related. So he's not been afraid of making substitutions and changing it if he's got it wrong. But the trouble is he's been getting it wrong most weeks, which is the bad thing. It's been, it's not been too much of an improvement, to be totally honest. Our midfield, we've constructed probably the world's slowest midfield possible. If we commit a couple forward and leave that back line exposed, then we're in trouble. If you get if you spread the play and use the flanks, we defend very narrow, and we let wingers run at us and get into the box and cause problems. Basically, if you do the fundamentals right and we play like we have done, you'll probably beat us. Unfortunately, that's the sad.
Sounds like it could be good for Hudson-Odoi and Elanga then, if that's what you do.
Defensively we've been okay, but we've leaked goals, and I think it comes from the midfield to start with, and we just haven't been able to haven't really been able to cope. Kudus is out, which you'll probably be a little bit chuffed about. Oh, is Rich still there? He's frozen. I won't keep talking and telling him things just in case he's not listening and he's not here. I don't know what's going on there. Whilst we try and reconnect with Rich, let's take some of your comments. The stop and go signs are very annoying. I'm going to kick Rich out because that photo isn't the most flattering. I'm not sure he'd be too pleased with that. Hopefully he will rejoin us. Apologies for that. We are missing James Ward-Prowse's free kick expertise. They were brilliant, weren't they, Peter? Absolutely brilliant. Murillo is a very good centre half. Decent little player. Villa 0, Palace 1 up in the cup. Wow. Is it Brighton Liverpool, the game on TV? I'm going to go and watch a little bit of that in a second. Peter says Forest currently have a great team spirit, which is non-existent in our team. Absolutely. Sorry, Rich, I'm not guy. Just a bit of a.
No, so I think my Wi-Fi dropped out again.
No, that's right. So the last few weeks when I've had opposition fans on, I've perked them up a bit, and they've been pretty confident going into the game. And I did the exact same to a Man United fan last weekend, and he was buzzing coming off. It was like, oh, great! Like it sounds like you've been awful, and then we beat him, which is mildly amusing. This is a tough game. Despite what you said, it's a tough place to go, and we found that out. We haven't beat you at your place since you've come up. You beat us 1-0 on your first game back up, and you beat us when we were dreadful 2-0 last year, where the Moyes out banner was shown, and that was a pretty famous game in the beginning of the end of David Moyes. So overall, I mean, you said you were pretty confident and expecting things. I don't blame you, to be honest. Can I eke a prediction out of you?
I'm going 2-0 again, like last season. 2-0 to Forest.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. 2-0 for us. There'll be goals. We won't keep a clean sheet. There's no doubt about that. I don't think we kept a clean sheet for about a year. So you will definitely score. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, what am I going to go for? See, the classic thing with when you go away from home is, would I take a point? Probably would, to be honest. After beating Man United last weekend, I would take a point. Going at 4 points from those 2 games looks pretty decent after our run of form that we had. So I'm gonna say 2-2 because I think we'll concede more than one, and I just hope that attacking wise we can we can do the business. You haven't conceded many goals, but hey ho, that can't go on forever. 2-2
No,
is gonna be mine.
exactly. I mean, you never know, do you? You just never know.
Exactly.
Football, that's why we love it.
Exactly. Fact, it says we played 20 minutes on the front foot Sunday and it was the best we've been all season. That second half performance was really good. I will grill JC on the female situation on the way to the City ground on Saturday. Well, I look forward to that, Terry, in every way, shape or form. I'll see you 8:30 on Saturday morning. Peter says if we start like sloths, like we did against United, as per usual, you could be 2 or 3 up in the first 30 minutes, and that's not even an exaggeration. We had some sort of system second half that surprised me. It looked solid with Alvarez playing as a sweeper role. It was a lot better. We have to go 5 at the back, I think, so potentially. Well, at points we've been okay defensively. Wan-Bissaka's played well, Kilman's played well, but together as a unit, yeah, we have leaked too many goals. I've been saying it for ages. We need to go 3-4-3, absolutely. So this sums up the fan base's morale at the moment, even though we've won 3-1 Forest, 3-1 Forest, 2-2. There we go. There we go. I don't know what
apart from Chris, we have been quite wasteful with the chances we've created. We could have been 5 or 6-1 against Leicester on the break in the second half, but we just decided to overplay it, or you know what I mean. I don't know whether it was because they were just too relaxed because we were leading. I don't know, but the other players have been quite wasteful in front of goal.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that could play into our hands. We'll see. I don't know what this joke is you're doing here, but I'm just going to ignore it, lads, and move on. I have a feeling it will be a long, quiet drive home on Saturday. Yeah, that insinuates Terry's thoughts about it, and hopefully not the female situation that they're talking about in the chat. It's highly inconvenient and highly inappropriate for a football chat show, I must say, lads. Sort it out. But yeah, I see your point in terms of it could be what are you on about now, Terry? You need to keep up the term feet right. Honestly, I've got a highly astute guest here on to talk about Nottingham Forest, and all you lot want to talk about is my love life. Honestly, we'll do that on Friday with the lads. This is important times. No, Rich, thank you very much for joining me despite everything else. Could you give me some final thoughts ahead of the game? How are you feeling?
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I normally go into Forest games with a bit of trepidation, but and it's not because we're playing West Ham or anything like that. I just feel that we're capable this season of giving a good account of ourselves. You don't always get the results you deserve, but I think we're a better team this year, and it's a lot more positive.
Yeah, there we go. So it could be a difficult afternoon for the Hammers as they take the trip to the City ground for a classic Saturday 3 o'clock. It should be a good game, nevertheless. Hopefully, evenly contested. I've got a feeling that we might need some more VAR intervention if we're going to get anything out of it. But yeah,
there's normally a lot of that at the City ground.
Well, yeah, of course.
We're not big fans of VAR there.
I don't think anybody is, to be totally honest. But we all voted for it, apart from Wolves, that annoyed fans, didn't they? In the summer, we had an opportunity to get rid of it, and only poor Wolves stood up on their own. But look, that's a debate for another day. Hopefully, there's no dodgy decisions in there, and it's a good game of football as I expect it to be. Right, let's take some of your final, rather not amusing comments. Any female needs to be a hammer. Yeah, no comment. Bring back blind date for Jake. 100% blind date over the modern day. Honestly, Man United are beating Leicester. Well, Ruud van Nistelrooy is at the wheel at Manchester United. Maybe he's the man to bring back the glory days. Anyway, Rich, thank you very much for joining me. Great to get your insight on Nottingham Forest. I will see all of you on Friday, I'll be joined by Larry, possibly Nigel, definitely Gary, to discuss this game from our West Ham viewpoint. So I'll see you then, 8 o'clock Friday. Thank you very much, Rich. From me, Come On Your Irons.
No worries.
And I'll see you soon right here on West Ham Unofficial. Goodbye.
Cheers.